Alright, I figured I would try making a video about doing an oil change on a 2026 Cadillac CT5-V Blackwing. For some reason there don't seem to be videos out there about how to do it, probably because it's so simple that nobody figures you'd need it. But this job is surprisingly a pain in the ass given this car. So the oil you'll need is generally this Mobil 1 Supercar 0W40. And trying to get underneath this car is really where the trouble lies. The jack stand placement is only on a few really crappy pinch welds. And so I went and I purchased the LTZ1 add-ons, lift points, I believe they are. That got me enough room to get underneath here. Honestly, race ramps would have probably been a better idea than what I ended up going with. Once you successfully get under here, you're going to need a 15mm socket to get to the oil. The oil plug is on the passenger side of the oil pan. I've heard that once you crack this thing loose, it has a tendency to spray oil all over hell. Hopefully I will be lucky and not unlucky. The vehicle calls for 10 quarts of oil, I believe it is. I pray that my oil pan over there can hold that much. I think that's its capacity. But this is the first oil change on this car. There's not a lot of discussion about when to do the oil change as far as break-in. It's unfortunately ambiguous. I would have loved some sort of more conclusive answer. But I figured right about 1,500 miles is probably a good enough spot for me to crack this thing open and drain it, given that the oil's about $100 to do an oil change on this thing. But I will try to get this repositioned, get under here, and crack that thing loose. Not sure if I'll be able to take a video given my limited number of arms, but I'll try to show when I crack that thing loose. Alright, fortunately, it really wasn't that hard to bust this thing loose. I put the 15mm on it. Let's see, it's a nightmare to see down here. Really should have brought a work light. I bet you this video is going to be of almost no value to anyone trying to watch it. Anyways, put the socket on it, one quick little smack, and it came loose. It is finger loose at the moment. I figured I would try to control the rate that this thing goes so I can try to limit my mess. For now, I have left the oil cap on the top to try to regulate the flow of this thing because I really don't want to make a mess here. I'm sure I'm going to make a mess here. Yeah, no joke, that is supposed to piss straight out the side. That is a huge oil mess. There's a little washer on there. I almost lost it. Fortunately, I did not. I'll have to mess with that. God, there's no light. Okay, you can see the stream there. The stream does shoot for a hell of an arc, meaning that while I can get started with it where it is, I'm actually going to have to stay down here and drag the funnel base for collection over as the stream loses its energy and starts to fall more straight. So I have no choice but to leave here while it continues to make a mess. I didn't want it to come to this. So I'm going to stop this video now that my hands are covered in oil. My plans for this process is that I'm going to let this drain for some time once it gets in position. And then I'm going to eventually put the cap back on it and switch to doing the oil filter. That way I can try to limit the amount of mess going on here. After using several more brain cells, I figured it might be a good idea for me to grab a work light so I can show you something. Some of the stuff I can't reshoot. I'm obviously not going to fill it with oil and drain the oil just to show you. I will try to link the sheet that tells you which oils are compatible. This stuff is Dexos R, even though it's just Dexos and it's red. But they list some specific ones they want you to use. Their approved filter is this AC Delco PF64. Fortunately, getting to the filter for this is easy, at least from the driver's side. Hopefully that won't create a bunch of glare, making this a nightmare. you can see. Let's see. Frick, once I get it back far enough. And also worth noting is you might as well go from behind the tire. The length you'd have to stretch your body from the front of the car doesn't really yield any additional benefit that I can see. So I have left this draining for, I'm not sure, maybe 10, 15 minutes. And it's down to just a drip, so I might as well try to put that back in. The gasket is kind of slipped towards the end. I haven't decided what I wanted to do about that. And the filter just lives in that little alcove there. Now, I'm not going to bother showing me attempting to thread it one-armed while holding a camera. I'm not entirely sure if it matters anymore filling the oil filter with oil prior to putting it up in there. But given that back in the day that used to be a thing to worry about, I'm just going to put a little oil in there, swash it around, and then lube the seal and slap it on there, making sure that I don't do something like leave whatever gasket is on the factory filter on there and double stack it, letting it leak. All right, another little clip I feel like might be worthwhile is that I am a person who fills their vehicle with oil, gets it full, and then I will fire it up and let the thing idle for a bit to get it, fill up the filter, and then check how it's actually doing. On this car, to my surprise, the difference between having had it full at new filter and now is literally going bone dry on the dipstick. Right this second, I am 9 quarts of oil deep, and it went from full to actually empty. Now, it is unlikely that I have something really interesting going on. Like, for example, my car pissed it all out on the ground. But out of an abundance of safety, I don't see any evidence that it has done something like that. So the oil getting thrown around inside the engine and filling the filter seems to have consumed a whole quart, which is a little weird. But I will put another quart in it. We'll see how it goes. And maybe it just requires ever so barely more than 10. Be a little unusual, but yeah, you see things.